Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? All right, taking a trip around the division this week. We've already visited Atlanta. Yesterday was Tampa. Let's head up to Charlotte. Our buddy Julian Council, Locked On Panthers, good enough to join us. Get a little check-in on Carolina, of course, the Saints' Week 1 opponent. Hey, man, how are you?
I'm great, Matt. You know, I've been waiting a while to be on your show, man. I had to wear my Carolina shirt today to let everybody know down in Baton Rouge who their daddy is in postseason college baseball. So good to talk to you, man.
But I was like, where is he going with this? That's a strange flex whenever you've literally never won anything in baseball or football.
It's the only flex I have on LSU, so I'm going to use it when I get a chance.
It's just not a great flex, though, Julian. I mean, LSU's won 7 national titles in baseball. They're the greatest program in the history of the sport. And because you won a regional against a not great LSU team?
It's not just regionals. Every time we see you in Omaha, send you packing. So just wanted to remind y'all.
Okay. All right. That's still a weird flex, man. But okay, you can have it. I'll just go over to
just
LSU.
let me have it. That's all I want.
I'll go count the national championship trophies. You can have the regional win. Hey, is Bryce Young going to be any better this year?
Yeah, he'll be better. He has to be better considering he was the worst quarterback in the league in a lot of categories last year. You look at QBR, you look at his passing success rate. Wasn't great. Like the only other guys at the bottom with him were like Zach Wilson, who's no longer in New York with the Jets. He's now in Denver, I think, like as their third string quarterback, and then Will Levis up in Tennessee. But it's not like he had the biggest sample size anyways. I look at it as this is a line of scrimmage game. And if you're bad up front, especially on the offensive line, you're not going to have success. And last year, they had 7 different left guards, 8 different right guards, and their left tackle, who they drafted in the first round a year before, Ike Ekwonu, was not good. And I think having 7 different guys next to him at left guard was a big reason why that was the case. Bradley Bozeman, their center, who I thought was pretty solid for them in 2022, he was dealing the same situation, having different guys next to him. Bryce just didn't have a chance up front. And then on the outside, Adam Thielen, at age 33, did not expect him to have a 100-catch, 1,000-yard receiving season. Only 4 touchdowns, though, which speaks to just how poor they were when in the red zone and just in the passing game overall. DJ Chark, down at LSU guy, he was not very good for them last year. He's now moved on, I believe, as a Charger. He was disappointing. Miles Sanders was disappointing. Hayden Hurst was disappointing. All of these free agent moves that they made, plus the offensive line, just didn't help them. Now, with Robert Hunt coming in and Damian Lewis coming in, another LSU guy, of course, and bringing in Deontay Johnson via trade, I feel like they have more weapons. I feel like they have an offensive line up front that can protect him and at least give him a chance. Where last year, sure, he wasn't great. He had his own inefficiencies, but everything around him was unbelievably screwed up.
Yeah, and they went and got Xavier Legette in round 1 as well. How's the rookie first-rounder looking so far?
He hasn't been healthy over the last week, so he had a foot injury about 2 Sundays back, MRI on it, came back negative. It was a scare for the team, but they were able to get past that. They had joint practices today against the Jets, and he was out there for individual drills. Same was the case on Wednesday and Monday, but he wasn't out there in any of the team periods, so he hasn't made an impact at all. And you look at other guys like Terrace Marshall Jr. actually had a pretty good day today, and Jonathan Mingo, they have been disappointing so far in their Panthers careers. So there's the open door there at wide receiver 3 for Legette to come out and actually be an impact player. It just needs him to be healthy and to actually make impact when he's out on the field. Because when he was healthy early on in training camp, even when the pads first went on, I didn't see anything from him that really stood out to me, making me believe that this guy is going to be even a resemblance of what we saw last year at South Carolina. And understand, he was there for 5 years, and it took until the final season for him to finally do something. And people bring up how he had different quarterbacks every year and how quarterback play hasn't really been great down in Columbia until Spencer Rattler the last couple of seasons. Different head coaches, different wide receiver coaches, his own injuries, a lot of reasons, but also excuses why this guy took until the final year of his career to finally break out. I was skeptical of the pick because of that. And so far, I haven't seen anything to lead me to not be skeptical based off of what I've seen from him when he's been out there. Okay. But he's got to get healthy first before he's going to be able to be an impact player this season and beyond in the future.
That's fair. You know what's interesting? And Julian Council is our guest. He's on Twitter at Julian Council. You want to give him a follow? You want to go heckle him about the Carolina dig? You can do it. By the way, you went to Elon, man. What are you even doing trying to flex with take a Carolina flex? You're an Elon grad.
I am an Elon grad. My parents went to Carolina. Family's had a restaurant in Chapel Hill for like 50 years. So my ties in Chapel Hill aren't deep at all.
All right, I'll accept it. You know what's weird? I look at Carolina's roster. Okay, I'm talking about the Panthers now, not the Tar Heels.
Yeah, I know.
You mentioned Adam Thielen, Jonathan Mingo. You mentioned Terrace Marshall, Damian Lewis. And defensively, like Ashawn Robinson's there now, Jadeveon Clowney. Like, there's so many names, right? Like, almost like, why aren't they better? Or is it just that all these guys are old and not what they once were? Piece this together for me, right? Like, am I missing this? Do you understand what I'm saying? It feels like they should be better given the talent they have on this roster.
Well, that's been the case for years now, looking at this franchise. They had DJ Moore. He just got another big deal in Chicago. He was outstanding last year for Justin Fields, and I imagine he's going to be outstanding this year for Caleb Williams throwing the football. You look at Christian McCaffrey. He's only the best running back in the league. Alvin Kamara's been good, but come on, McCaffrey's on a different level, and they traded him away in pursuit of Bryce Young. They've had good players. Brian Burns was a good player. He's no longer here. Jeremy Chin, he was a good player. He got phased out of a Jero Vero to DC here in Carolina's scheme last year, but he's good. Frankie Louva was a diamond in the rough that they found a couple years ago, and he turned out to be one of their better players defensively and on a team period last season. So, yeah, you bring up a lot of names. Like J.C. Horn, if he's ever healthy, will show just how good he is. The problem is, there's been 51 games that he's been eligible to play. He's only played in 22 of them.
Wow. That's
just not good enough. Derek Brown has been outstanding. He's never going to be the kind of pass rusher that people hope he'll be. Wasn't really at that in the SEC at Auburn anyways, but he's been a great player. That's why they paid him. There are solid players on this roster. I just don't think the depth of talent is where it needs to be. And the guys that they anticipate being marquee players for them just have not been healthy, or they're playing for other teams. So I understand. Like Ashawn Robinson, I don't know. He's the guy that I would point out as I think it's going to be his fourth team at this point in time. Like Josie Jewell's been good. There are some name players, but Adam Thielen's 34 now. He's a long way away from being one of the best receivers in the league. And last year, I feel like his numbers were based off of just the need for someone to do something, as no one else around him was. There are solid players here, but overall, just the talent on the roster is not to the point where you would legitimately think that this team is anything more than a team that's likely picking in the top 5 again this season. But in the past, they have certainly had players.
Is Tepper going to let Dave Canales coach the team?
I hope. I can't sit here and say that with any confidence. I'm sitting in this boat thinking until Tepper is not the owner, like this is just going to be the Carolina Panthers. This was not a franchise that was bad. This was a middle-of-the-road franchise, 8-9, 9-8, or I guess it was really 8-8, 9-7 back when they had 16 games. That's what they were. A team that's been to the Super Bowl twice in their 30 seasons, and they had Cam Newton, Jake Delhomme, they had success. And since Tepper took over, and he moved on from Cam, moved on from Ron Rivera, brought in Matt Rule, and that was a disaster, brought in Frank Reich after not keeping Steve Wilkes around, who had them playing their best ball they played since Tepper has taken over as the owner. He's made every wrong mistake. I look at the soccer team here in town. They're only in their 3rd year, and surprisingly so, which you shouldn't be surprised if you know David Tepper and how he operates. They're on their 3rd head coach. And this has finally been the year where things are working out. So Dave Canales is David Tepper's 3rd head coach that he's hired on the football side, the American football side. Maybe 3rd time's a charm here with him, as it has been so far with Charlotte FC and with Dean Smith and that franchise making some of the right moves and actually sitting in a playoff picture. So I'm hopeful that Dave Canales is getting to coach the team and make the decisions alongside Dan Morgan, the general manager. As long as David Tepper's in that room, it's going to be really tough to trust this team until they actually do things on Sundays in the fall. Win.
I totally thought you were going to go the opposite direction. Like I had no idea they had fired 3 coaches in a row. With
the
Charlotte
first coach
FC.
lasted 14 matches, Matt. They were given the team. They had 18 months before they were going to play their first match. And this is not like football where the amount of guys that you can pull as far as coaches, it's not that deep for NFL coaches. But in soccer, it's An entire globe.
Yes, the globe.
And the man lasted 14 matches. Like, what are we doing?
So good. I kind of love him. I don't want to work for him, but I want to observe the carnage from a distance, which is actually pretty comical. Condolences, though, that you got to cover it. Although it might make for great content. He's on Twitter at Julian Council, Locked On Panthers. Make sure you subscribe. You have have you had a guess on a win total? Where do you think you said they're picking top 10, top 5 of the draft. Where do you think they land?
I keep telling people they won 2 games last year. What if I told you they could triple their win total?
6?
That's 6 games.
Yeah.
And it sounds good. When you say 6-11, doesn't sound good. You say triple your win total. Sounds pretty nice.
Yeah. Perspective matters, man. Good stuff as always. We appreciate the time. All the best.
Absolutely, man.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.